Tertiary markets. Let's get straight into it. So, this is a daily series, guys. It's not just a topic that I like to talk about, but basically the business model that we're doing is LBOs. We're doing 0 to 1 billion. I'm not going to document every single day until then, but I'm going to document my first deal. I'm going to put it all on the channel. And I noticed something today, and I want to talk about it. Tertiary markets. Right now it's day 165 or 66, I think. It's 12 at night, and I want to talk about what I did today, right? So I've been working on more like concise, solid, like sniper type of leads. And while I was doing that, I was listening to Barry Sternlick. I hope I said that name right, but he's a billionaire. He's worth like 4 billion, like 3 to 4 billion, something in that range. And he owns a lot of hotels and apartment units. And not only him, but also Brad Jacobs was another guy I've been studying. And they're both Jewish. It's a common denominator between them. And they both use leverage to buy assets. And that's what we're doing on this channel. That's why I'm studying them. And they both said the same thing. They both bought into tertiary markets when they first get into an industry. That's common with not only them two, but Walmart started the same way. So they started in a very small town in Arkansas. I saw another YouTuber that his name's Jason Paul Rogers. He did the same thing. He started in a small town in Nebraska. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're new to this, if you don't understand what's going on, the business model is called LBOs. We're going to be using debt to buy assets, leverage buyout. That's what it's called. And we're going to be buying businesses, specifically in healthcare. And I need to target my leads that I contact for buying these businesses into small tertiary markets. There's different kind of markets. Think of it like A, B, and C. And C is like small, like middle of nowhere kind of towns. And the goal is to be the biggest fish in a small pond versus a small fish in an ocean, right? That's the best way to get started. And I'm going to try and link the exact spot I saw in the interview of the guy talking about it. Multiple different people talking about it.
And we backed away from the things everyone was doing, and we said, okay, what's the smart thing to do? Not what the institutions are doing, what all the money's doing. What's the smart thing to do? In those days, instead of buying Denver, where the institutions were, we bought Colorado Springs. Instead of buying Austin, instead of buying Dallas and Houston, we bought Austin and San Antonio.
Yeah.
And San Antonio was a fascinating market because the occupancies were higher.
I've got a bias toward industries that are ripe for consolidation. Acquisitions are the best way I know of to scale up fast and gain the advantages that come from a large number of locations and greater market share out, and let us shoulder the capital investments. There was also an opportunity to integrate vertically with trash collection companies strapped by rising disposal fees. Our M&A game plan from the start was to avoid going head-to-head with the largest waste management companies. Instead, we went into tertiary markets like rural Mississippi and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, places that the big incumbents overlooked, where we could be a big fish in a small pond. We rolled up landfills, then bought the collection companies that were hauling waste to those sites. 8 years in, we sold United Waste for $2.5 billion. I loved making obscene profits for the shareholders of United Waste.
And yeah, I worked on that list today. It's about 213 leads that I was doing. And we'll see how many of those I can find a number for, like a direct dial number. Basically, we're going to work on it. But for today, I did cold calls in the morning. I did somewhere around 60 dials. And let me reach for this real quick. Right now, we're at 73 owners that we reached. So we're slowly chipping away at it. If you don't know that counter, we're trying to hit 2,000 leads on that, because when you hit 2,000, you'll get a deal for sure. I'm past 73, I'm not going to lie. But ever since I had that machine, that little counter, I've been at 73. But in reality, I'm probably at 373, something like that. So we just got to keep chipping away at it. I also watched an interview of this guy who owns, and when I say watch an interview, guys, I'm talking about listening to the interview while I'm working out, while I'm doing like a tedious task or like a list, for example, or if I'm writing up an email or doing something tedious where I can like listen while I'm doing something visually. That's what I mean when I say watched. right? And this guy, he owned an insurance firm. I think like they did the underwriting. I'm not sure what kind of insurance it was, but he owned an insurance company, and they would do one acquisition a month for the last 12 years. But the way he went about acquisitions was very different, where he would meet with the owners of like really well-established companies, and even if the owner wasn't interested in selling their company, he would still meet with them. And he would kind of create a preliminary relationship with the owner, and he would paint like a vision where if the company's struggling to grow, or if they're struggling, like let's say you're one of these owners and you're just having a conversation, you could see the idea of like someone taking care of your company and it growing past what you have the capabilities of doing, and you get paid well as a result. The way he structured his deals was also interesting. He was talking about that. He was saying that he always requires the owners to own a piece of equity of like the larger company, like something like that. But he's not like doing aggressive M&A. Like the guy that's worth $4 billion, like he does. It's a bit different. Their mindset I noticed is a little bit different from the sense that like the insurance guy doesn't care about growing super fast. He just wants to have a solid company that like is steady and it's a decent size, but it does great work and has a great reputation, as opposed to Brad Jacobs for 4.1 billion or Sternlick 3.8 billion, I think it was. Those guys acquire massive debt and they acquire so many more assets, whether it's like someone that's looking to retire or not. Like the insurance guy was talking about how he doesn't like to buy businesses that are distressed in any way, like if they're trying to have like a clean exit or if they're just trying to retire or like put the cleats up. He literally described it like that. If the owner's trying to put the cleats up, they don't necessarily like to go for those businesses. So it's like a different model. You could tell like it's a common pattern, man. Something else the guys I noticed they always say the same thing. It's very interesting when you watch these guys. Like they literally mention similar things. Like it's almost like they listen to each other. It's super weird. Something else they mentioned, like someone asked the question to Stern, like I think it was, and he was like at some point making so much money, how do you not think that you know everything? Like how do you not like have like a big head and just assuming like they have all the knowledge you need? Like how do you not get arrogant, basically? And he was saying that having the fear of like losing, having the fear of losing a lot of money is actually very healthy. That's something you need. And the fact that you'll like doubt yourself in a way keeps you successful, because the ones that have the mindset that they know everything, they end up running into the wall and they fail. And he was saying, not only him, but also Brad Jacobs was saying the same thing. It's like, you need to be humble with your opinions, right? Because once you start thinking that you know everything, you might as well sell the company and retire. Very interesting. They both talk about the importance of having solid, great people on your team. And yeah, that's not something that I necessarily am doing. Like I could bring on solid salespeople, but yeah, I definitely need to work on that. I'm open to it for sure. I have a salesperson on my team. By the way, I need to message him back. I had a guys with this journey, you don't want to, with this process, you don't ever want to share any doubts. That's why eventually, I'm gonna stop doing these videos once I have my first acquisition or whatever the case may be. Once I start getting serious, I cannot share doubts. So that's interesting because I don't necessarily share everything, guys. Keep that in mind. Like, I'm not trying to say anything bad happened, but certain things just gotta be kept private. Let me show you guys how many dials I did today. All right, so I'm gonna try and not show my leads, but right now it's past 12. So if we just go these dates, yeah, 63 total on those dates. But there's a bunch of these things on the side. So, anyways, yeah, that's how many calls we did today. I think the biggest thing with cold calls is analyzing your calls, guys. You want to analyze them, man, because they help you so much. Just record yourself, listen to your tonality, etc., and it really, really improves, I swear. I also want to talk about this comment that I got. So, Jaden, 1546. Anyways, he said, "Hey man, props to you for shooting big, but make it realistic, bruh. I think you should do increments, like shoot for 1 million first. God bless." So, nah. My answer to that is nah. This is the ultimate goal. I'm not gonna document every single day until then, but we're doing it through acquisitions, and I'm just documenting myself until the first acquisition. That's the plan. That's still the goal. I don't care. I don't care if it's delusional. I'll be delusional. Delusions are strictly, okay, how can I put this the best way? Being delusional is only delusional until you make it reality. Until you make it reality. That's it. It's delusion until you can make it your reality. And that's what it looks like right now. So dude, it hasn't even been 6 months. Even if it takes me a while, I'm not doing all the steps right. I have all these different stuff in my life coming along. Like, I guess I'm not spending 100% of my time on this. So, listen, I just gotta chip away at it. It's tedious. It's not sweet, but it's just part of the game.